Discover the incredible true story of a bank CEO exposed. A life-changing 10,000 surprise awaits. Jack Thompson stood atop his bank's elegant staircase, his heart racing like a well-tuned engine. The small Midwestern town of Maplewood bustled below, but in that moment, it felt like the world had narrowed to just him and the weight of his legacy. A life spent building everything from dust and grit, fueled by the struggles of his decorated war veteran father, had made Jack the quiet hero of this tight-knit community. He was a beacon of hope, but now, the funhouse mirrors of financial distress began to crack, reflecting potential ruin. The town depended on him for loans, mentorship, and support. He had poured everything he had into their dreams, and now those dreams hung in the balance. Just last week, Jack's heart had shattered as he watched the Golden Spoon Cafe close its doors, a beloved place where conversations and friendships bloomed over coffee. How could he let that happen again? Then Tom showed up. Jack's estranged brother, who had always chosen freedom over family, strolled back into town, disrupting the delicate tapestry Jack had woven over the years. The bond they once shared was now laced with bitterness and regret. Tom had chased adventure while Jack pursued responsibility. Their differences loomed larger than any financial crisis. On a particularly grim evening, while sifting through letters in his office, Jack stumbled upon an unexpected treasure. A 10,000 grant meant for veteran-affiliated businesses in the community. His mind raced with possibilities and guilt crept in too. Could this be what he needed to rescue his bank? To save his community? To finally prove to Tom he wasn't the weakling he used to be? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But just as Jack began plotting his course, whispers echoed through Maplewood. The community heard he wanted to use the grant for his bank. Is he really in that much trouble? Old Jack playing the system? The gossip hit him like a tidal wave. He felt naked, exposed in a way that sent chills down his spine. This was not the man he wanted to be as Tom stepped into the fray, offering reckless advice cloaked in loud bravado. The rift grew more expansive. "You're better than this," Tom challenged, frustration boiling over. Jack's chest tightened. Every word sliced through the already frail fabric of sibling love. Could he forgive Tom for abandoning them all those years ago? Could he forgive himself for what felt like betraying their family legacy? In that moment of greatest impact, Jack realized the stakes were higher than just numbers on a spreadsheet. The town's future was at the mercy of their past. Standing at the precipice of despair, he took a deep breath and prepared to step into the fray. The townsfolk awaited his decision, hearts beating like drums, eyes wide and searching. Would he choose redemption for both himself and Tom, or would he let prejudice dictate their fates? With the sun setting behind him, casting long shadows on the pavement, Jack braced himself for the crowd waiting outside. A decision loomed. Would he find the courage to save not just his bank, but his brother too? The air crackled with tension, and Jack prepared to face a reckoning that would change everything. Jack took a deep breath, his palms slick against the cool metal of the banister. The whispers and gossip, eavesdropped on by the town like a charged pulse, surrounded him. He could feel their eyes on him, not judging, but waiting for him to claim his moment. He stepped down the last few stairs and into the gathering below, the hall echoing with murmurs. Familiar faces stared back, friends, neighbors, even the barista from the Golden Spoon Cafe, now in a turtleneck that seemed too tight for her slight frame. Jack felt a tug in his heart, a mixture of guilt and determination. They looked at him like he was still their guiding light, even as he felt his own light flickering. "Thank you all for coming," Jack said, his voice steady, although uncertainty coursed through him. "I know tensions are high right now. This town has faced hardships, and I feel a weight on my shoulders like never before." The murmurs faded, replaced by a silence that felt electric. He glanced over his shoulder, catching Tom in the crowd. His brother's expression was inscrutable, but the small crease between his brows showed Jack that he was just as unsure. Jack's chest tightened. Could they do this together? I won't sugarcoat it. Jack continued, pacing an invisible line in front of them. Our bank is in trouble, and you know it. The Golden Spoon Cafe closing hit us all hard. It was more than just a cafe, it was a gathering place, a heartbeat for our community. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. This wasn't just about numbers. It was about people, their lives, their stories. Jack swallowed as he ruminated on the grant, the sound of rustling paper itching at his mind. And then, he added, almost faltering, I found a way to lift us back up. Silence hung thick, expectant. I received a 10,000 grant for veteran-affiliated businesses, he stated, revealing the information like a magician unveiling a trick. I want to use this money not for the bank, but for our community, for the shops that keep our people connected, to bring back what we've lost. A low buzz followed, gratitude mixed with surprise. But, Jack's voice took on a somber tone. I know some of you might think this is just another underhanded scheme. I get it. I've been blind, focused only on my duties and my pride as a brother. Tom stepped forward, breaking the fraught silence, his face a mix of apprehension and hope. Jack, you know this could be a gamble you're taking, right? You want to save the town, but... He let the words hang, the implication clear. Jack met his brother's gaze, feeling a sudden rush of understanding. I know, but maybe it's time for us to rebuild not just the town, but each other too. We can put aside our past for this future. His heart raced with the weight of the moment. Jack could see the gears turning in the minds around him. Would they accept this? Would they welcome change? Amidst the unease, he spotted familiar eyes lighting with a spark of belief. The barista from the cafe, now engaged in a quiet conversation with an older gentleman, two lifelong friends just waiting for a sign. Together, Jack declared, strengthening his resolve, we can do this. I'm asking you all to trust me one last time. It's not just a loan. It's a lifeline. Let us bring back the Golden Spoon and so much more. Loud murmurs erupted. Faces brightened with cautious optimism. Yet in the back of his mind, Jack felt the pull of doubt, like a storm brewing on the horizon. In that moment, a new question loomed larger than all others. If they took this leap together, what would happen if he fell short again? Would this bring the town together, or tear it apart forever? As Jack stood before them, adrenaline coursed through his veins. He knew the answer wouldn't just define him. It would redefine the kind of brother, leader, and man he aspired to be. The decision was not just his, it belonged to them all. With hearts racing, they hovered on the edge of this abrupt pivot. And Jack felt it deeply. A reckoning was about to unfold that would shatter any illusions they had left about safety and community. Would they unite for a brighter tomorrow? Or would this be the decisive moment that changed everything for good? Jack's heart pounded as the murmurs swelled around him like a rising tide. He could feel the weight of anticipation pressing down. Was his community ready to rally behind him? Or was he just stirring a pot that had long been simmering over? The barista caught his eye again, her lips curving slightly as she exchanged a glance with the older gentleman beside her. It gave Jack hope. Maybe this was a sign, a small glimmer of brightness amidst the storm clouds of doubt. He made a mental note to talk to her after the meeting. Jack, I think, if we do this, we need to really understand what the community wants, a voice piped up from the crowd. It was Sarah, a local artist known for her murals that danced along the alley walls, breathing life into corners that often felt hidden. What if we don't just plan to rebuild what we lost, but envision something even greater? Jack's brows furrowed. What do you mean, Sarah? She took a step forward, grounding herself in the moment. Let us not just reopen the cafe. Let us create a space that supports local artists, gives room for pop-ups, community events, maybe even workshops for families. Places where we can come together. Is that part of your plan? Jack glanced around, reading the room. Eyes lit up as the words sank in. People leaned closer to hear, feeling the pulse of possibility. That is an amazing idea, he replied, energized. Tom nodded thoughtfully. If we're putting our necks on the line, we have to think big. Can't just be about reviving the old, it needs to spark excitement. One by one, others chimed in. Someone suggested farmers markets, while another voiced a need for a community garden. The initial hesitation dissolved like sugar in hot coffee, replaced by fresh dreams. The energy shifted, charged with creative possibility. Jack flicked his gaze to Tom. His brother's expression had transformed, the heavy crease now a glimmer of encouragement. As Jack prepared to speak again, he felt a wave of gratitude washing over him. You're right. This is about all of us working together, not just funding a project but crafting our future. Let us combine our talents, our stories. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the rear of the hall, jarring every soul present. Jack spun around, heart racing. A group of teens had knocked over a table, scattering chairs as they laughed. Guys! Jack yelled, a mix of frustration and concern bubbling up. This is serious. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. Some faces were bemused, but others showed an understanding that made Jack's heart swell. They were all thinking the same thing, this was too important to treat lightly. Jack softened, lowering his tone. We need each other. Every one of us brings something invaluable to this table. This isn't my plan. It's ours. And if we're going to succeed, let us do it together with respect and purpose. As his words rolled through the crowd, Jack saw nods of agreement peppered throughout. Slowly, they began to mutter aspirations again, redoubling down on their trust. The plan was fragile yet powerful, a fragile dream held in the hands of a community that longed for unity. But just then, as laughter trickled back and hope reignited, he noticed a fist clenching on the far side of the room. It was Scott, the former banker who had lost everything to a risky investment. Anger simmered in his eyes, stark against the renewed warmth of the moment. Really, Jack? Scott's voice sliced through the energy like a knife. Put aside our past? Let us not forget who is to blame for it. You think this is all sunshine and rainbows? Jack felt the air thicken, their shared history hanging like a specter above them. Doubt returned, creeping in like shadows creeping in at dusk. Would Scott's animosity pull them back into the darkness? As Jack looked around, he could see the fear in some faces, the familiar doubts resurfacing. They were all hanging in the balance again. Could they overcome their history for the sake of their future? He opened his mouth to respond, but the words caught in his throat. What could he say that would mend this fragile peace? The challenge hung heavy in the air. Jack's mind raced. This was a defining moment not just for him, but for everyone. The inevitable question echoed like a storm within him. Would they find a way to rise from the ashes of the past? Or would this moment become another missed opportunity? As silence descended again, Jack could feel the weight of every gaze on him, waiting, hesitating. What was he going to do next? Jack took a deep breath, a mixture of hope and heaviness swirling within him. He glanced at Scott, whose fists were still clenched tightly, the tension palpable. Everyone was watching. It felt like the room had transformed into a spotlight, and he was the actor at center stage, trying to remember the lines that could save the show. Scott, he started, his voice steady but gentle. I understand your anger. I really do. We've all lost something, and it's easy to point fingers. But if we keep looking back, we'll drift further apart. What we need now is to lift each other up. A ripple of murmurs coursed through the crowd. Jack could feel the weight of their support tingle against his skin, yet doubt still lingered. Would his words resonate with Scott? The man's shoulders relaxed, but a glimmer of skepticism still danced in his eyes. I get that you want to be the hero, Jack, but talk is cheap, Scott replied, his tone challenging as he moved closer. You think this grand plan will erase what happened? You think people have forgotten? Those of us in the line of fire are still facing the fallout. Jack nodded, conceding Scott's point. You're right, he said, heart pounding harder. This one tea fix everything. But maybe that's the first step, admitting we can't change the past. What if we took that pain and reshaped it together? That's a risk worth taking. The silence that followed felt charged. Jack's pulse raced. Would Scott latch onto this idea, or would he shut it down? The other community members seemed to be leaning in, eager to see how this confrontation would unfold. Scott looked at the faces surrounding him, each etched with a yearning for change. There was hesitation at first, and then something caught fire in the room. I don't owe you my trust, Jack. But if you're willing to listen, I might help. Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him but knew it was only the beginning. There was a shared history here that couldn't be washed away in a single moment. That's all I'm asking for. Scott, help us forge a new path. Your experience, your voice, it matters. Together, we can build something profound, something meaningful. The crowd stirred, buzzing with renewed energy. Jack felt the spark ignite again. Sarah stepped forward again, a kind smile on her face. Can we create a space where those voices are heard? A community council? We can work through our pain to shape our future. Slowly, more ideas began flowing, brighter and more daring than before. A suggestion to hold town forums, where everyone's ideas could be voiced. Another proposed a mural to represent their journey, emphasizing resilience instead of division. As people spoke, Jack watched the room come alive again. He could hear laughter returning, a soft symphony of hope echoing through the walls. Relief intertwined with anticipation. They started to breathe again. But just as excitement swelled, Jack caught a glimpse of the barista, who had yet to speak up. The smile still lingered on her lips, but her eyes betrayed a hint of uncertainty. Would her voice become a part of this new chapter? The thought clawed at Jack's instincts. And you all, he gestured toward the barista. What do you want? We need every story here. I want to hear you. Your dreams matter in this space we're reclaiming. All eyes shifted toward her, the tension of expectation thickening the air. She opened her mouth, but hesitation glimmered in her eyes. Jack felt the pulse of the room. This was a moment of vulnerability and hope. Would she step into the light? The barista took a breath, and Jack knew what came next could alter everything once more. Would she seize this moment to share her vision, or would fear hold her back? As he awaited her response, the question loomed larger than ever. Was this meeting just the beginning, or merely a fleeting moment, easily forgotten in the chaos of life? The barista took a small step forward, adjusting her scarf as if it could somehow shield her from the weight of the moment. She caught Jack's eye, a flicker of understanding passing between them. He could see her struggle, the clash of desire and fear playing out on her face. I love this place, she finally said, her voice breaking slightly. It's not just about coffee. It's about community. It's about connection. Jack nodded, feeling a swell of hope rise in him. Yes, that's exactly it. She continued, gathering her thoughts like a juggler finding balance. I've been here 2 years. I've seen people come together, but lately, it feels like we're just drifting apart. I want to bring back that feeling of belonging. I want to help create a space where we can celebrate each other as stories. The room hung onto her words. It was as if they were inhaling one breath, waiting to exhale. That sounds beautiful, Scott murmured, even as his skepticism began to soften. How do we do that? Her gaze swept across the gathering, and Jack could feel her gathering strength step by step. We can start with storytelling nights. It doesn't have to be polished or perfect. Just people sharing moments, vulnerabilities, and victories. We can decorate the walls with the words that matter to us, reflecting who we are together. Excitement rippled through the crowd. Jack felt a surge of energy, something he hadn't experienced in a while. This wasn't just a meeting, this was a movement. Can we make it monthly? Someone called out from the back. Every second Friday we could make it a thing. Food, drinks, music. Yes. Jack felt a grin spread across his face. Let us create a culture around it. We can invite anyone, neighbors, friends, even those who might just be passing by. Let us make it inclusive. The barista's tense smile cracked into a brighter one, and Jack felt relief wash over him. And we could establish a theme each month, she suggested, her confidence growing. Perhaps we could focus on resilience first, then hope or laughter, I don't know, whatever it is we want to reflect. Scott crossed his arms, but this time it was less an act of defiance and more a characteristic deep in thought. What about a cleanup event, then? Before we decorate that mural or begin the storytelling. We clean this space, our world, it sets an intention, doesn't it? A murmur of agreement settled in. The concept of unity through action resonated within them. Jack could feel the excitement building as they bounced ideas around, visions merging into something vibrant and alive. It felt like they were weaving a shared tapestry every time someone chipped in. But as they brainstormed more ideas under the umbrella of transformation, Jack couldn't shake the image of the barista, that flicker of uncertainty, from his mind. Had she seen the potential growing as much as he had? What if, in this moment of joy, they were missing a greater truth lying beneath the surface? Just then, the barista's eyes met his again, a flicker of vulnerability still present. I keep thinking of what happens if people don't show up, she murmured, the smile fading slightly. What if we fail? Jack stepped closer, feeling the weight of her concern. What if we don't? What if it becomes a way to bridge the divides? The fears won't disappear overnight, but our community can start to heal. Together, the air pulsed with raw emotion, anticipation threading through the conversations. Would they really move past their fears? Would those unvoiced dreams find their place in the light? And in that precious silence, an unspoken question hung. Was this their moment of truth, or just another chance to retreat back into the shadows? As the evening unfolded, each glance and whisper held the possibility of change. Jack's heart raced as he wondered. Would they risk the vulnerability it took to truly show up? Jack felt the heat of the moment pulling him in. The barista stood there, waiting. The energy in the room had shifted, swirling with hopes and fears, and it looked as if they had all collectively inhaled a new idea. Could they indeed create this space, this sanctuary for stories and connection? Scott's voice broke the silence, a new steadiness to it. We can't just talk about it. We need to act. He turned to the barista. You've sparked something. Let us set a date. Let us take steps to make this real. I can help with organizing. One voice chimed in, followed by another. I'll bring my guitar for the music. Jack's enthusiasm surged. He saw teamwork blooming, a community awakening. Each new contribution felt like a stitch in the fabric they were weaving together. Maybe we can create a social media page? The barista pitched in eagerly. For updates, stories, maybe even to share moments from what we're doing. More people could see and join us. Every face in the room lit up with ideas, a whirlwind of thoughts and excitement spiraling around them. But underneath it all, Jack caught a glimpse of the barista's hesitation. Despite the growing energy, her brow furrowed slightly. Don't forget. What if no one shows? She whispered, almost to herself. That question hung, muted but potent. Jack felt it tug at his heart. But what if they do? The words burst out with the urgency of every fear faced. What if every seat is filled? What if stories emerge that we never even dreamed of? What if this becomes the heart of our community? The room absorbed his words, mugging expressions shifting from doubtful to curious. The barista lifted her chin, her eyes shining with renewed hope. Maybe we can put a sign in the window, invite everyone around. I could make coffee for the stories, special drinks for each theme. Right? Jack agreed, revving up the energy again. We'll make it an event. Music, laughter, vulnerability. Being ourselves. Scott nodded, arms still crossed, but a smile danced on his lips. That cleanup event will not only clear the space but build excitement for what's coming. We can show that we care. No better way to spread the word than a big community gathering, right? With that, the vibe shifted again, excitement sparking off like fireworks. The barista took a deep breath, the tension beginning to release. Jack could see her settling into a rhythm, emboldened by the unfolding energy. She looked at him, and for a fleeting moment, there was clarity. Okay, she said slowly, determination creeping into her voice. Let us do it. A chorus of cheers erupted, filling the space. Jack felt the weight lift, a collective resolve taking hold. He could sense the impending tide of change washing over them, a new chapter waiting to be written. Behind the energy, though, Jack couldn't shake the lingering worry. What if their vulnerability laid bare was met with indifference? As they continued to plan, laughter mingling with discussions, Jack caught the barista's eye again. The raw connection between them pulsed softly. They understood each other's fears. Near the end of the night, as arrangements neared fruition, she leaned slightly closer, her voice almost a whisper. "What if we do this and it doesn't work?" Jack took a breath, feeling the weight of her doubt alongside his own. "But what if it changes everything? What if you ignite a fire we didn't even know we had?" She nodded slowly, her gaze drifting away momentarily, as if she were gazing into an uncertain future. But then she smiled, hope sprinkling the air like fairy dust as the night dissolved into plans, promises, and laughter. Jack's heart raced. This could be their moment of truth or a step back into uncertainty. Would they embrace the leap it took to really show up? And in that electric moment, with excitement swirling and futures stretching infinitely before them, Jack could only wonder. Were they truly ready to embrace the unknown? The following week flew by in a whirlwind, leaving Jack with a mixture of anticipation and nervous energy. The barista's cafe transformed into a loop of planning sessions, laughter, and late-night brainstorming. Each day, the walls echoed with ideas, a steady flow of excitement building towards the big event. But that creeping doubt still nagged at him, knitting itself into his mind and heart. In the cafe, the atmosphere buzzed with warmth. Friends and strangers huddled around tables, their animated voices swirling together like a vibrant tapestry. Jack took a moment to inhale the heady scent of freshly brewed coffee, the sound of laughter washing over him like music. This is it, he thought. This was the community they'd been searching for, one that could knit together their wild dreams and shared stories. He spotted the barista leaning over a stack of flyers, her brow furrowed in concentration. She wore her apron like a badge of honor, a symbol of the commitment she had embraced. Jack walked over, planting a light tap on her shoulder. She turned, a smile breaking through her earlier seriousness. "Hey, just putting together some last-minute touches for the event," she said, her voice laced with excitement. "Everything looks great," Jack replied, standing next to her. "You're really bringing this all to life." Perhaps she sensed his unease because she leaned closer, dropping her voice to a soft whisper. "You think we're ready for this? I mean, what if it flops? What if no one shows?" The question struck a chord deep in Jack's heart. The looming fear had been dancing in his mind too. He could feel the weight of possibility draping over them like a fragile tapestry. "What if it doesn't?" He countered gently. "What if we open that door and find a flood of stories waiting to emerge? People craving connection just like us?" For a moment, they locked eyes, understanding passing silently between them. Jack could see the flicker of hope in her gaze. She picked up a flyer, bright, colorful, almost like a window into their collective dreams. "I want this to matter, Jack. I really do." "Me too," he admitted, tasting the determination in his own voice. "Let us make it something unforgettable." As the days raced closer to the event, the cafe morphed into a project hub. Jack and the barista worked side by side, balancing tasks as the other volunteers filtered in and out. They painted signs, prepped themed drinks, practiced songs. Slowly, it all began to feel more tangible, like they were building a bridge to something profoundly significant. Finally, the day arrived. The sun broke through the morning clouds, casting a hopeful glow over the cafe. Jack stood outside, taking it all in as people began to gather. A gentle nervousness curled in his stomach, and he ran a hand through his hair. He glanced at the barista standing by the door, key in hand, and fear etched into her features. "Do you think it will happen?" she asked, her voice almost lost amid the murmurs of the growing crowd. "It's already happening," Jack replied, stepping closer. "Look at all those people. They're here because of you." Her breath hitched as she gazed out. Jack could see the change washing over her, like light breaking through clouds. He felt the swell of hope rise and pulse in the air. As the doors swung open, laughter and chatter poured out, a collective heartbeat echoing excitement and vulnerability. But beneath the surface, Jack felt his fears creeping back in. After all the effort and hope, what if it all fell flat? And just as the first story was about to unfold that night, he couldn't help but wonder, what would happen if the stories they shared uncovered truths they had never faced before? The energy inside the cafe pulsed like a living entity. Jack stood at the entrance, his heart racing. The first guests began to filter in, eyes wide with anticipation. There were clusters of friends, hesitant newcomers, and even a few locals he recognized. For a moment, he was awash with a wave of gratitude. This was not just an event. It was a gathering of souls, each carrying their own stories. The barista moved gracefully between tables. She greeted each newcomer with warmth, her initial nerves seemingly forgotten, as she embraced her role like a performer stepping onto stage. Jack admired her ability to connect. She listened with genuine interest, her laughter brightening the space as they shared moments of joy. He leaned against the doorframe, taking it all in. The cafe buzzed with excitement, but the siren call of his worries tugged at him. What if the stories they shared revealed regrets too heavy to bear? Would it be liberating or just heartbreaking? Shaking his head, he pushed the doubts from his mind. This was a chance, a profound opportunity for everyone involved. As the evening unfolded, Jack found himself wandering to the makeshift stage they had set up in the corner. The ambience was cozy, the soft glow of string lights casting a magical aura. He picked up an acoustic guitar, strumming a few tentative chords. A few heads turned toward him, and he felt the weight of their gaze, a mix of interest and the unspoken question. Will he be good? All right, I'm not the best, but here goes nothing. He half-joked, the laughter coming as a welcome release. He started playing, his hands shaking slightly but finding comfort in the familiar motions. Soon enough, a gentle hush fell over the audience. The music wrapped around them, creating a bond of shared vulnerability as the final notes faded. He spotted her eyes shimmering as she clapped enthusiastically. In that moment, he realized it wasn't about perfection. It was about connection, about sharing parts of themselves that words sometimes failed to express. The barista stepped up next, announcing the first storyteller. Jack watched her confidence unfold. Each word she spoke weaving a stronger thread into the fabric of the night. One by one, stories poured forth. A man captured the heartache of lost love. A woman shared her battle with fear, and another spoke of a sudden career change that opened a door he'd never thought to knock on. Jack noticed the nods of understanding, the tears glistening on cheeks, the smiles that broke through heavy moments. With every story, a deeper bond formed among those gathered. Jack felt a warmth not only from the atmosphere but also from something deeper. A feeling of acceptance blossomed. This was why they had worked so hard. They were creating a safe space for people to share, to heal, to find solace in each other's experiences. But just as he settled into this comforting realization, the next storyteller took the stage. Her voice quavered, a stark contrast to her powerful presence. "I came here tonight for a reason," she began, her eyes scanning the crowd before locking onto Jack's. "I need to tell everyone about something that changed my life forever." It began with a bank, a CEO, and a surprise that would unfold into something I never expected. The air crackled with tension, curiosity weaving through the crowd. Jack's heart raced in sync with the uncertainty in the air. What could her story reveal? Would it expose truths that resonated with them all? He leaned forward, anticipation flooding his senses. In that moment, he realized this evening had the potential to go beyond what he had imagined, and he was here for it all. Her voice hung in the air, pulling everyone's attention tighter, as if the whole cafe held its breath in expectation. Jack leaned in, his heart pounding. He could see the way she clenched and unclenched her hands, a nervous habit that only made her more relatable. The gathering was entranced, leaning slightly forward in their chairs, eager for the next words to spill. "I walked into that bank one fateful morning, just an ordinary day," she continued, her eyes flaring with intensity. "I had no idea it would lead to a moment that would redefine what I thought I could do with my life." Jack caught himself hoping, even wishing for a slice of that unexpected magic. Her voice was steady now, filled with conviction. I had been struggling for years with my self-worth. It's hard for me to even admit that. I worked a dead-end job, battling feelings of inadequacy. Then, here I was at a bank talking to a CEO who had no idea the impact he would have on me. He could feel the crowd shift in their seats. Everyone's focused like a spotlight on her. She paused for effect, letting the weight of her next statement land. Out of nowhere, he asked me if I'd like to apply for a scholarship. He was offering $10,000 to pursue something I really cared about. I thought it was a joke, she said, laughter mingling with disbelief. Why would someone like him even notice someone like me? Gasps spread across the room. Jack felt a twinge of familiarity in her uncertainty. The moments of doubt and fear can feel so heavy, unshakable. But she pushed forward, fueled by the memory. I found myself staring into the eyes of this man who saw potential in me that I couldn't see in myself. In that instant, every moment of struggle, every tear, felt worthwhile. Tears shimmered at the corners of her eyes, and Jack responded to them instinctively. Here was a story of transformation, of refusing to allow perceived limitations to define a life. This was more than just an anecdote. It was a lifeline for anyone feeling lost. Against all odds, I applied for that scholarship. I'd be lying if I said I didn't spend sleepless nights thinking I didn't deserve it. But I finally submitted my application. And when the acceptance letter arrived, she paused, her breath catching. I burst into tears. It was a turning point. I realized then that self-doubt was the enemy. A wave of understanding washed over the crowd. Jack saw nods of recognition from faces around him. It wasn't just her journey. It was one they commonly shared, the push and pull of doubt and hope, struggle and triumph. And that when I transformed, she concluded, her voice now steady with conviction. From that moment on, I chased my dreams, fueled by the belief that I was worthy of more. Polite applause erupted, but it felt like more than just appreciation. It felt like celebration. Jack could see the barista beaming with pride, eyes glittering with unshed tears. Before Jack could digest the weight of her words, the storyteller glanced around the room, a newfound urgency bursting forth. We need to believe in the unlikely support from others. You never know who might be listening or when your next opportunity might arrive. Look around you. This community, this renewal of spirit is what we need. The room simmered with energy, hearts swelling with possibility. Jack felt a spark of courage ignite within him. This moment was more than just sharing stories. It was about the connections they were building, the encounters that could change everything. But just as he allowed himself to dream of new beginnings, he sensed a shift. How would the next storyteller raise the stakes? What truths lay in wait that could change the trajectory of this gathering? His heart raced with anticipation, and he could hardly wait to find out. The thread of revelation hung in the air, and he could sense it was only just beginning to unravel. The stories flowed like an endless river that night, each one rippling with courage and heart. As the last storyteller stepped off the makeshift stage, Jack soaked in the moment. The warmth of connection enveloped the cafe, filling the corners with an electric energy that promised change. It was as if the community had awakened from a long slumber, ready to embrace the beauty of possibility. The barista stood beside him, eyes sparkling and voice just above a whisper. This is what I hoped for. It's more than just stories. It's life. Jack turned to her, feeling a sense of unity wash over him. Exactly. You started something incredible here, he replied, filled with awe. Sarah, the artist, had already begun sketching ideas for their first mural, inspired by the stories shared. We need a mural that captures the heart of what we all embrace tonight. We should include the essence of every story. Jack's heart swelled. This was a transformation through creativity and connection. Laughter bubbled in the air as groups of friends began sharing inside jokes and laughter. They embraced their vulnerability, not as a weakness but as a source of strength. Jack could hardly believe how far they had come since that first fateful meeting. Hope had turned into an unstoppable force. But, as laughter echoed, Jack felt a pinch of unease. What if, after all this, they couldn't sustain it? What if, when the crowd had gone home, the magic faded away? It tugged at his heart, a whisper of doubt that refused to be silenced. "Hey," the barista said gently, sensing his hesitation. "What's on your mind?" Jack looked around, seeing the energy and excitement, yet he couldn't shake the tension. "I want this to last. What if we struggle to keep the momentum going?" She shook her head, her expression steadfast. "It's not about perfection. It's about the intention behind everything we've begun. Each meeting, each story is a stepping stone. We're creating something real." Jack considered her words as laughter spilled around them, and he could see the shimmering flickers of hope lighting up the space. Each face reflected determination and camaraderie. This was a moment, a turning point for Maplewood, for him, and for the emerging bond between him and Tom. Speaking of which, Jack looked through the crowd, catching sight of Tom. Their eyes locked for a moment across the room, and Jack felt as if a bridge was slowly forming between them. Tom's smile wasn't just one of acceptance. It held a promise of understanding. It was a new beginning. "Everyone, can I have your attention?" Jack called out, raising his voice above the mingled chatter. The hum of conversations quieted, and all eyes turned to him. Tonight isn't just another event. It's the start of something extraordinary. We've shared our stories, our truths, and now, we need to make sure those moments resonate beyond these walls. Cheers erupted, and Jack continued, "Let us promise to keep this energy alive, to meet every month, to share, to clean, to paint, to build not just a bank but a community that thrives together." He could feel their excitement bubbling once more. The barista chimed in, "Let us set our next meeting right here at the cafe in a month. Together, we will brainstorm what we'll do next and how we can keep it meaningful." Scott raised his voice. "Count me in. I want to bring in some real discussions about our futures. What else can we do to support one another?" As ideas erupted like fireworks, excitement thickened the air. They began planning events, community projects, and even special themes for each storytelling night. The more they talked, the more they realized they were crafting a culture of resilience, creativity, and vulnerable honesty. Jack felt tears prickling his eyes, not from worry, but from an overwhelming sense of belonging. Before the evening came to an end, Jack knew he needed to address the one hanging question left in the air. This was about a new kind of unity, a deep bond of support that could transform lives. "Let us invite our neighbors, our friends, everyone who loves this town. We need to open our doors, not close them," he urged. They cheered in agreement, the energy swirling like a warm breeze of newfound possibility. As the crowd began to disperse, Jack felt the weight on his chest release. The night hadn't just ended. It felt like the dawn of an entirely new chapter for the community. He turned to find the barista one more time, gratitude filling his heart. "Thank you for believing in this. You sparked it all." She smiled, warmth radiating from her. "No, we did this together, and we'll continue to do more." With that shared understanding, they stepped outside, the cascade of stars above their heads echoing the promise of bright futures ahead. Maplewood had just taken its first steps into a new dawn. Jack felt it. He knew it. And as the cafe lights twinkled behind them, they walked onward, ready to face this incredible transformation that awaited them all. Now is the time for you to take action. Hit that subscribe button immediately so you don't miss more exclusive stories like this. You need to leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support this amazing journey. Comment with your reactions and feelings about this transformation, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this message of hope and change. Don't wait not even one more second. Let us grow this community together.